I am super excited because today we are going to be transforming our front porch from winter into spring. So come along with us and see the step by step of exactly how we're going to do this. It's going to be beautiful, colorful to welcome in the season. And if you have never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome everyone. Welcome to my home and garden channel. Now let's get started. So this is what is left of my winter porch, guys. You can see that I have a few violas right here and they still have a little bit of life left in them. So I'm actually going to use them. Over here we have the mats, and if you look closely, you'll see that there is a lot of pollen on them, guys. There is so much over here. And I know it's going to come again once I finish cleaning, but at least the bulk of it will be gone. Over here we have two of the urns. There's just soil in them right now. I'm going to amend that and add some additional soil to it. You can see the camellias that some of the flowers have fallen off and they're on the floor, which is a natural part of their process. So the first thing that I did was to go in and start taking things off, which was the wreath for the door and the sign. And next I went in for the rugs. And I like to layer my rugs if you've been watching my porch videos for a while. And I'm going to wash the plaid one on delicates, and it works perfectly. It looks like brand new when I'm done. And over here now, this is the wreath I had put to give that pop of winter, but winter is over, so bye winter. Over here, my husband is helping me to move the larger containers, which of course I'm very grateful for. And then he's going to go in and start blowing some of that pollen off, and just a few leaves are there. And if you look, you can even see the dust, the yellow dust that comes. It coats the cars. When you see them driving around, it's just a lot that you have to deal with. And it's the tree pollen that does all of that. So he's going in and taking care of that for me. So it'll make it so much easier. Next thing to do now is to go in and wipe down the surfaces. And that's the wipe cloth that I got from the dollar store. Very nice texture, and it absorbs the water really well. So I absolutely love it. And typically for me, I just use a little bit of soap in the water, wipe the things down, and then wipe them again. And that's pretty much what I do. So if you use special cleaning solutions, let me know what you use and what works for you. I'm more of an organic girl. So, I'm going to want something that is more, not too many chemicals and too many strong smells and stuff like that. But just something that works really well for you that you would recommend. Which, I'm fine using this. I like using Dawn, not sponsored or anything, but I like using it for my cleaning my surfaces and even for other things in the garden as well. And over here, I'm just going in and wiping off the pollen off of these. And we could have power washed it, but I didn't want to mess up the soil that was in there, so I just gently went in and wiped with the same wipe cloth, and it worked pretty well, getting in the grooves and all of that. And here now I'm wiping down the bench, and of course this bench is due for a painting, so that's going to be coming up, not for this refresh, most likely for summer, hopefully not as far as the fall, but it will be done. Then we went into Walmart to go look at the plants that they had, and the creeping Jenny caught my eye, so I'm going to be getting some of those. And over here, the sun patience caught my eye at the Home Depot. And just to say, guys, that this Spring Porch Refresh is a part of a collaboration hosted by my channel. And I'm joined by four lovely ladies, Judy, Gigi, Roslyn, and Mercy. They're also going to be decorating their porches for spring. And I'll be linking their channel in the description box with their videos. And there'll also be a playlist at the end if you wanted to check out the playlist that way. Whichever one you prefer is perfectly fine. So over here now, these are the plants that we got, and here are the urns with the soil in there. And the potting soil, I'm going to add a little bit more to it. Just take a closer look. We have the sun patience right there, and we have Dusty Miller, and then we have our creeping Jenny. So those are the ones that I got, and of course, same thing for the other side. And just to take a look and see the cost, these were for $2.97, which is not bad because it is a perennial. If treated the right way, it will come back year after year. And the sun patients are a little bit higher, but they have a mounding habit, so they do spread out a lot. So I'm kind of okay with that. And that was for $1.98 for the Dusty Millers. So I think I did pretty good there. And we have some potting stuff we're going to go ahead and add into that. And over here we have our pine bark mini nuggets, watering can, of course. Over here, I have some pansies that came over from the winter. So beautiful. So, of course, I'm going to be using them. And I just love how they look. I think they work well with what we're trying to do here. And these are some chrysanthemums that came back. And one of the black pot's going to get repotted. The violas, we're going to have to figure what I'm going to do with those. We'll see. And we have some begonias right there. So, of course, I'm going to have to go in and, get the chrysanthemum repotted. So you'll get to see that in just a moment as well. All right, so that's what we're working with. So moving along now, we're going to go ahead and first start with the Dusty Miller. And this is basically my thriller plant, meaning the one that, is taller and kind of pulls your eye up when you're looking at the containers, because we always, recommend thriller, filler, and spiller. So this one is the thriller, and I put it a little bit towards the back, so it kind of like, almost like a backdrop in a sense. Or sometimes you can put them in the very center of your container, depending on what you're putting around them. But in this case, because I have one sun patient, I'm going to put that to the back and then put it slightly off to the side when I get to the sun patient. So I like it. And then next we have the sun patient here, and you can see the color that I chose. I tend to like pinks and reds and purples, so I think this works really well, and it kind of matches up with what I have in mind for the other things on my porch as well. And so I'm just going in here and just freeing up the root ball a little bit. And sometimes if it's a little bit too much based on your container, you can always take a little bit off from the bottom. The plant will still be perfectly fine. It's going to grow new roots and it will be okay. It's better to do, take a little off than not to fluff it out at all. Just so the plant feels more free, spreads its roots out and it establishes a little bit better than if you're not doing that. So we're just going in and covering them over with some of the soil. And you always want to make sure they're level with the soil when you're finished and not sunken down or raised above it. So here comes our creeping Jenny. And I really like this plant because, like I said, it can be a perennial for some areas. If it's not too cold where you are, it will come back the following year if you leave it there. Or you can take it up and put it somewhere else to overwinter. And then, it will come back for you. It's just that I tend to change up my containers quite a bit. And just to say that this is basically a low spend spring for us because we have a lot of work that we're doing in our backyard. So of course, every little adds up. So over here now I'm putting it in firmly placed and just topping it off with a little bit of potting soil. You can let me know what's your favorite pillar plant that you use, or if you've never used pillar plants before, it might be a good time to start. And it's just something that cascades over to the side. And if you wanted me to do a video specifically on that where I talk about what plants to use for what type, like your thriller plants, your filler plants and your spiller plants, let me know and I can do a video specifically on that. And it's really more so about container gardening more than anything else. And of course, what we do on the one side, we're going to do on the other side. And my husband always says to me, make sure that you do them as like a mirror image, otherwise it's going to look weird. So he always reminds me, so like if you have it on the left, then on the other side it should be on the right. So that way they're kind of like a mirror image. So when you put them on either side of the door, it works out. So sometimes you don't even think about stuff like that until you do it and you're like, oh my goodness, it doesn't look quite right. So I was thankful for that reminder. And so I'm just going in and topping it off here again as per usual. And this is so relaxing, guys. You probably can't hear the birds right now, but they're out there singing. It really is spring, and you can tell just by listening to them. They're busy building their nest and doing all the things that birds do in the springtime. And I absolutely love watching and listening to the birds. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you definitely know this. And over here, I'm just watering them, giving them a nice, good soak. Water is life, as they say, and you always want to make sure that when you water them, that the water comes out the bottom. And of course, that means that your plants will need to have holes in the bottom. If you have a planter that doesn't have holes in the bottom, put a smaller pot in it with holes, so at least it will drain down in there and it will not be sitting in the water. Because if they're sitting in water all the time, then they're going to get root rot, they'll get stinky, and then they're going to die. So we don't want to spend our money or just to watch plants die. So I'd say for sure bear that in mind. And over here, I'm packing the mulch in, and this mulch was wet, which I was, surprised that it was. We did have some rain, so I guess it probably got caught on there, but it didn't have any mold, it didn't have any fungus on there, it didn't have any funny smell, so I was fine using it. So that worked out perfectly well for me. Just one less thing to do. But typically, if you're putting your mulch in and it's dry, you'll want to go in and then water it after you've placed it over the soil, just to make sure. Because if you don't, what happens is, because it's dry, it's going to pull the water away from the soil, and then your plant's going to get dehydrated. You'll go out there the next day and look at it and think, what happened? And I like to plant my plants in the afternoon, like after, well, I should say early evening, when the sun is kind of going down a little bit, so they get a little cooling overnight and they kind of freshen up. And over here now, I'm just taking off the older mulch from my pansies, just to freshen up the container a little bit. So, and that, you'd be surprised, guys, just something as simple as that makes such a big difference to your containers, and even your flower beds too. If you are able to do it, just go in and clear the mulch off and put some new ones. Just packing it in here, and again, same story, the mulch is wet, so I'm not gonna have to water it. I'll just pack it in right in there. And I think these colors work really well for what I was planning to do. Everything just came together so nice, because I hadn't even thought about it, to be honest. I just got colors that they had, in the early winter, I should say maybe late fall, and everything really worked out so well. So I was quite pleased with the way it looked. So this is what the colorful ones are looking like right here so far, and I think everything looks really nice. You can let me know what you think so far. And it looks very spring-like, all the pastel colors that we typically think about. So we are good to go there. And now it's time to get this chrysanthemum out. And for me, they're perennials. Some areas, for some people, they're not, depending on how cold it is where you are. But for me, they do come back, and that saves me money. The main thing is to make sure that you repot them. Put them in larger pots when you're planting them at first, if you can. But for sure, if they're still alive in the early spring, repot them. Get them out of the pot that they're in, unless it's, you did that maybe the year before, then you would need to again. But if you've never done it before, get them out from the container that they're in and put them in one that's a little bit larger, maybe like about 2 inches larger in diameter. And this thing has ants on it, guys. Oh my goodness. And it fell, but it's gonna be okay. You'll see later in the video. So over here now we have our begonias, and I'm gonna go in and get these out. And I love begonias. I think they are a flower that many beginners should start with. Unless you have a garden that's really dry, like it's hot all the time. But if you have like a part sun area, or area that is not like in the full sun like all day all evening, because they're okay for sun, yes, but they're better in part shade, and I've noticed it. So it's a good one to start with. Very, very low maintenance, very, very disease resistant. So I highly recommend them, and I use them time and time again. And they do spread out. They have a mounding habit. And they get pretty tall too. And actually for begonias, they're prettiest when you see them in the fall season, like early fall. They're just like, oh my gosh, you're not going to make it through the winter. And they look so good right now. But guys, they do go all the way through spring, all the way through summer, and well into the early fall. So, they're wonderful, and they just fluff out and they look so, so nice. So I love them. In retrospect, I should have gotten one that had mixed colors. Like there's some that had like a light pink and some white, a little darker pink. I probably should have gone for that, but I have this one, so I'm just going to stick with it. And I think it still looks good. It may look more like a salmon color that you're seeing there, but it actually is more like, or I should say more like a red, but it's actually like more like a salmon color. So I think it still gives that kind of a, spring vibe to it. So I'm still pretty pleased with it. And they actually had them at Home Depot for, they said two for $3, 6 packs. So I said, well, this is an 8-pack, so is that okay? And they said yes. We probably labeled it wrong, but it is $150 for each of these. So of course I was quite happy to hear that. And I'm gonna go ahead and put 5 of them in this container, and then I'll put the other 3 in a slightly smaller one. And they're gonna come out really nice. They were a little bit dry, the roots that were coming out from there. I guess they probably needed some water, but they still held up fairly well. And once you put them in the sun, you give them a nice good soak, and they'll be okay. And of course, always go in and pick off the leaves that, are damaged, because when your plants are damaged, they tend to produce hormones that, pull your plant down. So just take them off, and your plant will be happy to spring again, give you more nicer new leaves, and it looks better anyway. So just pick those off and then keep going. And of course, our review is going to be coming up further down in the video, so be sure to stick around for that. And this is the last part of this here. I'm just going in and just topping it off. And always, cover the soil that it comes in the containers. Just cover those top parts over, because if not, they tend to dry out if you don't cover them over. And now we're going to start adding stuff on. So we're moving along, guys. This is the last day, day number 3. And that's the wreath that I made. And time and time again, I tend to put my wreaths asymmetrical. On occasion, I'll do them symmetrical where I could turn it like, the flowers to the bottom. But I think it's, it has a little bit more interest when it's off to the side. Over here, I have my welcome sign. And actually got that from Hobby Lobby for about 50% off last spring. This is my rug that I got from Walmart. And I keep using it every time except for Christmas. This one here that says Hello Spring, this one is actually from Ross. The original cost was $6.99, but I got it for $4.99, I guess because it was in the summertime, and they're like, well, we have to discount it because it's not spring anymore, right? So good time to buy it. And I just wanted to take a moment to invite you to subscribe to my channel if you've never done so before, and to hit the notification bell twice so that way you never miss an upload. I do lots of gardening tours, tips and topics, and I do decorate my porch for every season where I try to use as much live plants as possible. So be sure to journey along with me. And now it's time to place the flowers on there. So we are moving along, and I'm quite excited about how things are looking so far. And guys, typically I go more monochromatic, to be honest, where it's more, like if I say it's pink, it's mostly pink. But this year I thought, let me just mix it up a little bit, come out of my comfort zone a little bit and do something a little bit different. And I like how it's looking so far. And now it's time for the reveal. But first, let's take a look at where we're coming from. And if you like anything on here, be sure to give me a thumbs up so this can go out to more people and they can get to see and get ideas on how to refresh their porch. So let's go on in and take a closer look. So down below here we have the violas, and you can see how they're looking there. I think that turned out pretty good. Right size container. And over here we have our creeping Jenny. They're kind of straightening out, and as the sun comes in, they'll, fall more cascade. We have our welcome sign, and over here we have our wreath. And honestly, guys, I don't think the camera does the wreath enough justice. And I'm not saying that just because I made it, but honestly, I really think it's not popping as much as when you see it in front of you. Over here we have our mats, layered and everything. And then over here we have the matching fern. And then right here we have our pansies, and they look so nice and refreshed. They're just so pretty. I absolutely love them. I'll have to replace them when the weather gets really warm, but we'll enjoy them for right now. And as you can see, the begonias that they have perked up, which is what I was saying. I think because it was a little dry, they're kind of like flopping over a little bit, but with a little water and overnight, there you go, they're ready. And that's our chrysanthemum right there. My little magazine right over here to read about the spring. And we have our matching ones on the other side. So you can let me know what you think about how it looks. I really like it. I think it looks very spring-like. And I'm going to enjoy being out here, the weather and everything as it changes. So let me know which was your favorite part, which one you liked best. Did you like the wreath best? Did you like the flowers best? Did you like the colors that I chose? Would you have done something differently? What colors do you prefer for spring? I'd love to hear all of those comments from you, just to see, so we can exchange ideas, because that's one of the part of doing a YouTube channel too for me, where I exchange ideas with fellow gardeners and people who like to fix their porches with flowers and all of that. And even if you put in a few faux flowers, and that's fine too, because even if you have faux flowers, it actually helps to lift your mood and is better for your mental health than if you have no flowers at all. And the studies have shown that, of course, it's nicer if you can get the real ones, but if you can't, it doesn't stop you from, or just maybe mix them. A few real and a few faux, whatever works best for you. So I do want to thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the ladies' videos, check out their channels. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me. And be sure to come back for the next one. Enjoy your spring and happy gardening.